Hello everyone and welcome to a special edition of Hooting About. For this video, I'll be celebrating 2 years of my channel by explaining why I'm focusing on the PS1. But before that, I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you, from the subscribers to the viewers. This year so far has been great for the channel and I hope it's great for you guys as well. There has been a lot of growth and exposure that things are definitely picking up. I hope you guys stick around as I already have a bunch of stuff planned for the rest of the year and for the next. Please feel free to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. With that, let's begin. So why am I focusing on the PS1? Well, admittedly, this has something to do with channel branding and working within a set limitation, but more expectingly, it has something to do with my gaming history. Like most retro gamers, nostalgia has a huge part in this choice. As cliche as this sounds, I have a lot of childhood memories for this console and it has carried me through a long period of time. I'll admit that the PS1 isn't my first foray into gaming, but I do feel like it was the actual start. And weirdly, it begins with watching my older brother play video games. My brother and I used to own a huge collection of bootleg games, so I was exposed to a lot of titles, mostly English games. And while bootlegs are kind of a taboo in today's context, younger me didn't care because it meant more games to play. Looking back at it now, I'm not really ashamed of it because it helped in making me the gamer I am now. It gave me a good background of titles and a lot of information and experiences on how video games can be. Going back, my older brother is a huge influence in the games I play. I remember watching him play story-heavy games and not understanding a thing, or being scared while he's playing horror games. And my brother wasn't selfish at all. If a game can be played with 2 players and he thinks it's easy for me to grasp, then yeah, he'd bring me in. Of course, it wasn't perfect, there were a few stints of sibling rivalry and me being a sore loser, but it was still fun. And then he would teach me games that he thinks I can play. Lots of it were easy to pick up, like the Crash games or a few fighting games. There were also a few attempts at some basketball games, but I wasn't into sports ever, so yeah. But my favorite memory would always be watching him play JRPGs. I didn't understand anything that's going on, but it felt like a magical journey. The cool characters, the great cinematics, why the hell are people just standing around in battle, and why are they doing poses at the end? I joke about it, but it's one of the funnest childhood memories I have. And what's worse is that I would recreate some of the scenes while playing Lego. I'd even go as far as to play JRPG in Legos. I was a weird kid, okay? But when it finally came the time that I can finally comprehend English, I would go to my brother, ask him, "Hey, I remember you playing this game, is it good?" And he'd either say, "Yeah, play it," or "You have to try it out for yourself." The latter was the case for most of the JRPGs I experienced. Then from there, I expanded to other games and genres except horror because I was easy to scare. For example, while my brother introduced me to Mega Man X5, it was my idea to get a copy of X4 and X6. It was my idea to get a copy of Crash Bash, a few Kamen Rider games, and Tiny Toon Adventures, The Great Beanstalk. And it just kept going and going and going that by the time people were raving about the PS2 or the sudden growth of PC gaming, I was still playing on the PS1. Granted, I did play a few games on PC and our computer can handle a few emulators, but I always defaulted to the PS1. It definitely carried me for a long time, and to paint an image of how long that was, the next console I got was the PSP a year or 2 after its release. And even then, I used my modded PSP to run PSX e-boots. Imagine that, in a console where amazing games like Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII, and Patapon existed, I used most of it to play old PS1 games. Admittedly, there was a period of silence with me and the PS1. I was getting older, had to finish education, get a job, and other stuff caught my attention. In fact, the idea of retro gaming and doubling down on the PS1 was a fairly recent decision, though a bit older than the idea of starting this channel. And I had a lot of catching up to do and information to understand, like what are mod chips, what are the models of PS1s, what are the existing mods, the other options of playing PS1 games, the emulators that are out there. I know that these are common knowledge by now, but like I said, I've had a lot of catching up to do and young me knew nothing but to play video games. I also won't deny that the PS1 retro gaming decision had something to do with burnout from gaming in general in the last decade, with how the community got continuously shafted by publishers and monetization practices, the repetitive nature of a few game series, and the borderline crazy and stupid decisions done by developers and publishers. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that things have gotten better since then, because they have. And yeah, that's my reason for focusing on the PS1. I hope that was an interesting or entertaining story. Hopefully things didn't sound cliche, but if it was, then it is what it is. And I hope that some of you can relate to what I went through. But I'm curious, what do you guys think about my experience? Do you guys have a similar background as well? Is it with the PS1 or a different platform? Feel free to share them in the comments. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Hi there, if you like what you saw, then please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. The channel has grown by a lot. Thank you everyone for joining me on this ride, and I hope you accompany me a little bit further. Maybe we can try for 500 subs? Anyways, I have a copy page for some behind the scenes stuff and for those who want to further support the channel, and a Twitter at KenAthomos. Links are in the description. Take care!